everybody, it's Holger Mueller here from Constellation Research, here with my long-term colleague, but friend, John Reed. Hey, John, how are you doing?
My final underrated story is around Peakon and employee listening. I'm just a huge fan of this product and what it can do. And in general, I'm a fan of this concept of listening to employees. But as someone wisely pointed out in the show, if you claim to take in that feedback, now you do have to act on it, because this is not generic survey feedback that gets collated once a year. This is
specific yearly employee survey. Yeah.
This is specific feedback that goes directly to your line managers about how your job is going. If they don't act on it properly, then it's actually going to make the situation worse, not better. So it is a double-edged sword, but it's powerful. And I think it's also powerful in the context of projects, because you can actually take a pulse of projects around this, which Accenture is starting to do, because our industry is littered with project failures. And when you dissect them, one of the biggest problems is not coming up for air soon enough. It's like, how did we get so far down this terrible path, of bad decisions, before we realized something was wrong? And I think this kind of tool can really help with that. And there are some challenges there, because obviously not every Accenture customer is a Peakon customer. It is an additional product, but they're working through some of that and starting to work on getting customers lined up on this early in the project. So I think that these are powerful stories to me, because this is different. I mean, but like I said, it's not, technology isn't magic here, because if your culture is not a culture of taking action on the behalf of employees, then it's actually going to make things worse. So
you can't solve things with technology alone, right? It's sad for us to say it's technology is there. No, great
yeah,
themes.
right.
I totally agree on Peakon being interesting. The whole performance management area is still fundamentally broken. I mean, at the core is the innate thing that people don't like to have unpleasant conversations, right? Which are potentially unpleasant conversations where employees will only think them years later in the next job and say, thank you for whipping me up or chewing me out on this. You were absolutely right. I learned something there, right? But the direct reaction is not that, right? So we have to change the culture for going there, and performance management remains blatantly broken, right? So, and this is another approach for making it better. Quickly, like 3 themes from my side, or are these your themes?
Yeah.
Okay, so one theme which was related to what you said with Peakon and with also Windley is Workday lost a little bit of the power of one, right? So it was also one UX, but for moving faster, for getting these acquisitions in, there's a little bit of a fasten your seatbelt part. I think Workday does the right thing. I mean, you can't tell people, hey, you can't have Windley, you can't have Peakon, we haven't harmonized the UI yet. But from the technology side, it takes a little bit of a step, because your Workday always prided itself having this declarative, easy-to-use interface. They use it very successfully, for instance, in their interface of ADP, right, where they show ADP screens in Workday look and feel UX, right? So it has been working. I don't know why they didn't do the same thing on the Windley and on the Peakon, and what's the third acquisition side? I forgot. Because it should be easy, right? I didn't have time to go there. The good news is they said...
Were you thinking of Scout RFP?
Right? It's on the plan in 2023. Yeah. We'll have the same UI again. We're going to get back there. So I like the pragmatic approach, but it was noticeable.
Yeah, when you make acquisitions, it's hard to have a unified experience, and that's a real tension that vendors run into, and Workday is tasting that a little bit now.
Yeah. Second
what else you got?
Sorry.
What else you got?
You mentioned it a little bit, right, with Windley, right? That is really the hard stuff, right? Workforce management is an area where Workday has been partnering. The other thing, which is the hard stuff, is payroll. Workday has been partnering in that area as well, has been also building some things. In my recent offering, Workday is finally doing some of the hard stuff, right? The payrolls for Germany, for Australia are on the way. They will have to do more, and stay tuned. They will do more, as I learned under NDA, so listen for that later on the payroll side. And they're going to take Windley assets capabilities, because gig workers need to get scheduled, to do more and better and launch workforce management on the Workday side, right? So it's really good to see that, because that's our key capabilities which vendors need to have in order to be successful, in my view, on the HCM side, because suites always win. We know that. If you don't have strong and good enough, at least, workforce management and payroll capabilities, it doesn't matter that you have skills. You might be the skills vendor, right? But people get paid and see something else. And what do you do with skills without pay, right? So
I think, and one interesting thing about mine is that they kind of all hail from the HR side, but I would argue that they're not HR stories. They're enterprise stories. And so I think Workday can make more noise around them. in the context of this is the future of work, this is the future of the enterprise. These are not quote unquote just HR stories. But one of the questions that a remote participant asked was like, why are we talking so much about HR and then CFOs? Like, why can't we like break down these silos more? And what was interesting was to hear customers talk about that and how in a couple cases it was actually, in this case, like the workforce planning and adaptive planning solutions that allowed them to start broaching that dialogue. But I'm saying it less as a product thing and more as like an ongoing issue is like, how do you create better dialogue between these various groups that Workday's trying to reach, the CIO, the CFO, the HR? It's not, you can't just roll out software and fix that. So I think that's sort of one of the lingering things. If you're going to take on a bigger roadmap, you also have a bigger challenge. And I think that'll be really interesting to see how that goes, because that's not an easy thing.
Yeah. The third one came back to me, and how could I forget, right? Near and dear, close to my heart, enterprise application platforms, right? The PaaS capabilities of the SaaS vendor, right? At Workday, it's Workday Extend. After long back and forward, Workday Cloud Platform, what is it, right? Ask Anil Bushri 7 or 8 years ago, will there ever be a PaaS? Maybe one little P. They're now putting out the PaaS with, I think, a big P, because the build capability, right? There's 3 key scenarios. There's integration, there's extending, and building standalone capabilities, which is coming this year to Workday. So it's going to be a full-grade enterprise application platform. Super, super important, because the best practice of the 21st century have not been established yet, right? Workday and competitors can't really build that. They can either boldly lead and be super successful, or get some bloody nose because they built something everybody loves or nobody loves, right? Or you can kind of like organically tell customers, look, if you don't have what you want, or you think you're specific, or you want to build something strategic for your digital transformation, you don't want to talk to us about it, here's the tool for you to build it. Still in the same security framework, on the same platform, with the access to the data, the same look and feel, easy for your employees and users to access. So that's very, very important. My third underrated theme, which we of course also talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that Workday might like say like, it's some people are dying. Some of the analysts are dying for Workday to get into manufacturing and like talk about all their industry plays. And Workday's not touching manufacturing, folks. Like what they're really focused on is international and finance, and getting finance at scale. They had Sally May talking about their massive general ledger project. So that's really the core focus. So industries are going to be the services industries, and those are the focus points. We don't have time for an in-depth industry conversation right now, but those that are fantasizing about like Workday taking on manufacturing and stuff, that's not where they're going.
Yeah, and nobody asked Anil this time is going to go in CRM, right? No.
Oh yeah, we didn't get the CRM question this year.
Exactly. Yeah. So what's going on with us? But the interesting thing is really the emphasis on things, right? You mentioned the themes; it's broad, but I looked it up and I forgot. Shame on me. It was for years. It was finance, HCM, and then I think it was planning, purchase and planning or something, right? Last year there was a big focus on purchasing capabilities and so on, and that was kind of like the step into supply chain potentially. But no, now the focus is finance and HR, and HR came back on front, right? It's HR and finance. Yeah. So kudos for that. As an HCM analyst, I like it, but I think also from a brand recognition, it's a much smarter move, because you don't want to start with something which logically I would always say with finance leads before HCM if you think ERP. But if you're Workday, you're known for HR, right? So you start with something strong, start with what you're known for. So HR, finance, they do finance, do finance. So like, finance, HR, yeah, okay. Different roller coaster when you read the tagline below. So maybe you're reading too much into the TV. So on the leadership side, right, the interesting other thing is, for the first time ever at Workday, everything is in the hands of one guy, right? Sayan Chakraborty. Well, we butcher his name, you know who he is, right? The co-president on that side, right? That wasn't the case a year ago. And it helped, like, look at Oracle when Thomas Kurian finally had everything, and there wasn't multiple divisions fighting each other, was giving a boost in productivity. And I think Workday, similar like all the other ERP vendors, needs to do stuff faster again now that we're post out of COVID, and build big and bold things to be successful.
I had a very heated exchange with Cheyenne at the first reception about search and GPT because I have a big chip on my shoulder about the mistakes I think Microsoft has made. And man, I was like, I am talking to one of the smartest guys that I've talked to on the AI front. This guy knows his stuff. So that's good for Workday. He was on his game. I was like, I'm going to stump this. I was like, I'm going to stump this guy, and I definitely did not stump him. So, lesson learned.
Good
lesson learned.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you grapple with bulls, you get the horns. So it happens.
Well, it's a life lesson. It's a good lesson, right?
It is absolutely.
I'm still convinced. Happy to go on record that Workday will change their stance on how to. All right.
We're going to find out. That's a cliff. You ended on a cliffhanger. I like that. That's good for ratings, man. All right, I'm late to my next. I think we're done, dude.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Good to see you.
Enjoyed it.
Take care. Bye-bye.